Quasi here, and in this video, I want to talk to you about dopamine detox and how to truly become a conscious creator of your life. I really want you to stick around till the very end of this video because I'm going to share with you the 3 keys to really help you come from a place of proactivity rather than reactivity. This was something that I struggle with intimately throughout my years and my beginning of entrepreneurship, even transitioning out of my professional career. Because all it took, the biggest thing that needed to happen was a mindset, an internal shift, not a surface level technical shift. Okay, so really I want you to pay attention to the very end of this video because this is something that completely changed my life. Before I begin this video, I want to quickly announce that a couple of spots have opened up for the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery Program. Make sure you wait around till the end of the video for the announcement on that. And with that, let's get started. So today I want to talk to you about dopamine detox and this huge fad going around about how, you gotta take a break from dopamine and how to really do it. And what I've found in my personal life to be the most effective. Okay, so what I want to share with you is that we go on this journey of dopamine detox because nowadays, if you look around you, everything is wired to give you an instant gratification. So most people are wired for instant gratification now. If you look at the 2-day delivery from Amazon, that's like the biggest form of instant gratification. When you check your phone and your notification, you immediately get that dopamine spike. When you look at pornography, you get that dopamine spike. Every single thing that you do, we are just getting more and more wired for instant gratification. Gone are the days where you just sit down and read a book and get to like the middle of the book to get that dopamine spike. So there's no longer the concept of a delayed gratification. It's getting shorter and shorter, and most are getting wired for more and more instant gratification. Okay, so really to exemplify this, I'm going to share with you a graph. So essentially, this is what happens when you get wired for instant gratification. Okay, initially you get this huge spike, but then this spike dies down just as quickly as it rises up. Okay, so this is instant gratification. Now, what you've got to know is that successful people are wired for delayed gratification. And what delayed gratification is basically patience. It's just being able to wait to get that burst of dopamine, okay? The powerful thing with delayed gratification is that it lasts longer. The state of high that you feel actually lasts longer than that short burst, okay? Instant gratification comes to you in the form of a craving. You need this, you need that sugar, you need to check your phone right now, you need to check your notifications. Okay, so delayed gratification is what successful people have wired themselves with. Why do I say that? Well, essentially it's like, if you want to become successful in business, I had to learn this the hard way. You've got to get okay with having days where you just completely get rejected, where things don't work at all, but you've got to be able to wire yourself to look at the future and what you're building rather than what results you're getting right now. Okay, you got to live as though you'll die tomorrow, do business as though you'll live forever. Right? That's the most powerful principle to doing business. So this was something that I had to learn the hard way when I started off my business because I was just looking for that shorter term result. How can I get that next client and that next client? Oh, how can I just get this one client? And not being able to let go of that rejection, like, shit, if I just signed that one client, it always holds you back and makes you frustrated. When you get frustrated, you start to bring in that frustration to your potential clients, even your existing clients. And that energy starts to transfer out to them. So this becomes this vicious cycle of where you don't get that instant result, you become more needy for it. The more needy you become, the more your prospects will feel that coming from you, right? So I remember when I started off my business, I was obsessed with just getting that next client. I would just do business as though and burn everything to the ground as though, tomorrow my business is going to end, instead of looking at what I'm building for that longer term. Rome wasn't built in a day. So this is why very few are able to get started with a business and really have the patience to take it off the ground. Because when something goes wrong, they quickly give up, right? And it's because of this concept of instant gratification. Everywhere around us, we've been wired to just do this and get that gratification. We do our job and we get that paycheck. The biggest gratification we get right now is the bi-weekly paychecks that we get when it hits our account. That's what, makes us feel that sense of gratification, gives us that dopamine spike, right? So really, if you look at delayed gratification, it essentially works like this. You initially begin with no gratification at all, but it keeps climbing because your efforts start to compound. So let me give you an example of that. When you, let's say, start off a coaching business, right? And they tell you, oh, you must go out there and do outreach and reach out to XYZ amounts of people and keep messaging them until you get your first client. That's the more shorter term solution, right? This is hunting versus farming. When you hunt, you quickly get a gratified result. You quickly catch something, but it never really scales up. But when you farm, it doesn't give you a quick result. You got to wait for the crop to nurture and grow into, your food. But you can really scale that whole operation up, right? Agriculture is what helped mankind move forward, not just hunting. If we just kept hunting, we would just be dependent on doing something every single day to get that instant high. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So it's like when you start off with that business, you go out there, you reach out to prospective clients, see if they're a good fit, and you keep reaching out every single day. You're doing instantly gratifying activities. Versus if you start making a YouTube channel, you build an email list, you nurture that list. What's going to happen is over time, people will get nurtured to join your program, to join and to work with you. But that's going to take longer. But the result of that, the outcome of that you get is much higher and more sustainable than the hunting that you have to do. So you become dependent on the hunting. So just like this, when you do activities that give you an instant gratification, you become dependent on them. So you need this, and then you need the next high, and then you need the next high. You check your notifications, you need that next high, and then you look for that next thing to give you that next high. So you become short-termed in your thinking. You literally shorten your neurons because now you're just looking for that next thing and the next thing. So it gets wired for the quick rush of dopamine as opposed to that longer term, looking at the future, looking at the vision that you're creating. So with delayed gratification, it looks like this. So over time, it builds up, but it stays constant, okay? It's gonna go down, obviously, but not as quick as instant gratification. This is what delayed gratification looks like. And this was extremely key for me to understand because you got to look at the activities that are not just feeding you right now, but the activities that are going to feed you better in the future. When you sacrifice shorter term pleasures for a longer term pleasure, that's when you start to really compound everything. Okay, so in terms of business, this was extremely key for me to understand. Your business isn't going to flourish overnight. It's not going to flourish in a matter of a week, month. It might even take a year. Hell, some people have had the passion to stick around till 7 failed businesses only to become a billionaire the 8th, right? So this is the thing that I needed to understand and get okay with. Because when you start to get frustrated with the shorter term, the lack of shorter term pleasure, then that starts to bring you into that vicious cycle of frustration, which starts to reflect out in every single area of your life. So I want to share with you the 3 biggest killers now, okay, that really wire you for shorter term dopamine spikes and how to avoid them. Number 1 is going to be notifications and social media. Why do I say that? Social media is really the silent killer nowadays. If you look at studies, your brain activity, what happens when you check your notifications, it's similar to taking a bump of cocaine. You get the same amount of high as you do when you wake up and you check your phone as you do from doing a line of coke. I'm serious, you can go and check that out. So when you check your social media incessantly, what happens is it brings you in a reactive state of mind. Try it out. If you begin your morning checking your social media, checking your Instagram, your Facebook, and you get that high, your whole day is going to keep continuing in that momentum. You'll never be able to get to a state of deep work, okay? This was key for me to understand when I was in college. And I remember that I tried to study. I would really try to study, but I couldn't study because I was just obsessed with like the next party to go to, or who texted me, or what message I received on Instagram. And until I learned to put my phone away and not check it at all, right? If you look at some people's screen times, it'll go to like 7-8 hours a day. That's insanity. Imagine spending 7 hours a day on your phone. That's half of your life, right? So the biggest killer is social media, okay? And I'm going to share with you how to really cut that down, how to eliminate that to build a sustainable lifestyle so that you no longer get wired for shorter term dopamine spikes. Make sure you stick around till the end of the video for the 3 keys. Number 2 will be stimulants, okay? What do I mean by that? Anytime you drink caffeine, this is something that was one of the biggest killers for me, because every single day I would need that caffeine. I would need to drink coffee to feel a certain way. That's the dopamine spike that you get from coffee. You can't function without it. When you can't function without something, you've become a slave to it. It's running you. You're reactive to it. You're compulsive to it. Whenever you become compulsive, you cannot be conscious. You can't take the reins to control your life because all of these activities are running you. Okay? Number 2 is stimulants of any kind. Especially caffeine. It's a big one. What I've learned to do is control my caffeine intake to the point where it's like 2 days a week I'll just drink coffee. I went from having coffee twice a day, every single day, to drinking it twice a week. I could even go without it, but I just enjoy it. So whenever you do drink coffee, whenever you do take stimulants, make sure it's coming from a conscious place, that you actually want to do it, not that you need to do it, okay? That's number 2. Number 3 is obviously pornography. This is the thing that'll give you the biggest spike. Like, when you watch pornography, something crazy happens to your brain. Your brain cells literally become shorter because now you're just getting that spike and that spike and that spike. So when you watch things that are stimulating, let's say movies, playing video games, and you keep doing that over and over and over, it just wires you for that shorter term spike. The more you get wired for that shorter term spike, the more difficult it is going to be for you to sit down and read a book, for you to sit down and do deep work, okay? So this affects your system like no other. These 3 things were the biggest killer for me. And I saw that these were hindering me from having a successful business, from sitting down, doing the work, focusing, and I would just procrastinate on everything. I would just find something better to do, that would give me a shorter term spike, right? So you would sit down to write a blog post or make a video and just check your phone every 2 seconds of notifications of who said what, right? And that makes you massively reactive, okay? So this is also what I want to share with you. Being proactive versus being reactive. Whenever you become compulsive to these shorter term rewarding activities, you immediately become more and more reactive. Becoming proactive is essentially like, I don't need anything. I'm choosing to do it. Okay? I don't need to do this, but I choose to do it. When you check your phone and everything, make sure it's your choice. Make sure it's not something that's running you, but you're running it. There's nothing wrong with checking your phone, right? There's nothing wrong with any of these activities, to be honest with you. It's just the place that it comes from. It can come from a place of neediness and reactivity or a place of proactivity and consciousness. Which one is it going to be for you? Which one are you going to choose? And the biggest thing is when people learn about all of this stuff, they're like, okay, time for a dopamine detox, right? They go to a Vipassana meditation retreat, or they do a 3-day dopamine detox. That's great, but it's also very ineffective because those are just the 3 days that you're doing it. But how do you structure your lifestyle? Because it's like when you do a diet, you do it for a month and you get some results from it, but it's never going to be sustainable. So what you've got to do is turn your every single day life into the most sustainable thing that will free you from all of these things that you don't even need to do a detox, right? It's like, why should I have to go on a vacation? Every day should feel like a vacation to me. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So now I want to share with you the 3 keys that's going to help you turn this into a sustainable lifestyle, to help you become a conscious creator of your reality and help you get rid of these dopamine addictions. Key number 1, this is what I had to find out the hard way. Whenever you feel this urge to relapse, it's always that there's an activation energy, right? And this activation energy is too low right now. What do I mean by that? So to exemplify this, let's say we have this. And we have one graph that's like this, another graph that's like this. And this is the activation energy. Let's call it AE. That's AE2, this is AE1. And anything after this is a relapse. I hope this makes sense. So essentially what you've got to understand is the more activation energy you need to relapse, the less likely you are to relapse. Okay? So you've got to increase the activation energy that's required for relapse. What do I really mean by that? If you stuff your fridge with fast food and sugars, you're going to go downstairs and eat sugar and eat fast food. As opposed to if the nearest fast food store were like 1,000 miles away from you, you'd never make a 1,000-mile trek just to relapse. Do you see what I mean? So to really put that into context, if you look at social media, the biggest difference for me was deleting all my applications. Deleting Instagram, deleting Facebook, deleting YouTube from my phone, deleting Gmail from my phone. Because what I would see was that I would just cycle between one application and the next, right? I would go to Gmail and then come out, and then go to Facebook and then come out, and then go to Instagram and then come out, and then go back to Facebook, go back to Gmail, Facebook, Instagram, Gmail, and then just keep doing that for like 30 minutes, and then scroll through my feeds just looking for that next burst of dopamine. This is what I mean when I say it makes you reactive. You'll even see your whole brain just getting fried. Like as you keep doing that, you'll be less able to focus on one thing. This is why kids nowadays are gaining such ADHD. You know, they start to skip to the end of the movie just to look at the most dopamine spiking parts, right? My little sister does that. She's like, oh yeah, I just want to see this part of the episode without watching the whole thing. Like that's the insanity it's come to. We can't even focus on watching a TV show, but we got to skip every single time. So what you got to do is increase the activation energy that's required for you to relapse, okay? And how I did that was deleting all the apps. So the only way I access them is going to Instagram on my computer or going to the browser and typing in Instagram, right? That's the number one thing. And this has really helped me get to more of a peaceful state and wire myself for needing less dopamine. So essentially I cut my screen time down from 2 hours a day to around 17 minutes a day, right? 2 hours to 17 minutes. This makes a huge difference. Like imagine you spend only 17 minutes a day on your phone as opposed to 2 hours, as opposed to 7 hours, right? Even if you have a business, and it's centered around social media, what I would recommend is just use it on your computer. Like during work hours is when you access all of these apps and that's when you check your notifications, but more so on your computer as opposed to going on your phone. Your phone should always be on airplane mode. Like if you're using your phone more than 40 minutes a day, you're literally wasting your life. Like that's the number one thing for me. This was probably the most important thing that I did that helped me just overall better the quality of my life as well. Stop checking my phone, become more attentive to my wife, become more attentive to things around me, and just in general be able to focus. That's number one. Number two, look for sustainable solutions. This in itself is a dopamine addictive activity. We always look for the next quick solution. We look for the next quick technique. You're scrolling through YouTube right now looking for the next video to fix your dopamine addiction. Just look for something that's more longer term. Like what's a lifestyle change that you can make? This is also related to number one in increasing the activation energy, because now you're looking for an optimal default in your environment. If your environment is littered with things that'll make you be distracted, you're naturally going to get distracted, right? Because now the activation energy is low. You just reach for your phone, which is right there in your drawer, as opposed to if it's in another room with no apps on it, on airplane mode. Do you see what I mean? So this puts you in a momentum. And what you've got to do is really look for, okay, what is the longer term solution? Instead of doing a temporary dopamine fast, how can I make my whole lifestyle such that it's not centered around getting quick highs, but on, looking for longer term delayed gratification? Number three is Focus on elimination and not addition. What do I mean by that? If you want to become more conscious in your life, the best way, single-handed, is to eliminate all compulsive activities. If you want to focus, eliminate distractions. It's as simple as that. If you keep having things around you that's going to lead you to distraction, if you have things with lower activation energy that'll make you slip, you're going to be prone to slipping. If you eliminated every single thing that would distract you, the only thing that will be left is focusing on that one thing you got to do, right? So never focus on addition. And this was something that I learned from watching this documentary on Netflix called Minimalism. I urge you to check that out. But in that, they talk about how a minimalistic lifestyle is probably the best. Like, there's less things to worry about. The less clothes you have, the less furniture or shit you have around you. Only have what's necessary. Right? If you look at your closet over a period of 3 months, see what you use and put them on one side, stock them back on one side, and everything that you don't use, just throw them away, give them to charity. I promise you, people don't even, for me at least, I don't even need 90% of the clothes that I wear. Right? So you got to really look at what's serving your life right now and what isn't. Eliminate everything that isn't, and all that remains is what will help you move towards your vision and your goals. Okay? And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I sincerely hope this was helpful. Let's recap. Today we talked about dopamine detoxing and why you shouldn't look for a shorter term detox, but for a longer term sustainable solution where your whole life becomes a detox from dopamine. Okay? And what we talked about was how we're naturally getting wired for this instant gratification. There's nothing wrong with ordering Prime delivery for 2 days. But it's just that when you become dependent on these instant gratifications, you naturally become more compulsive to life. When you become more compulsive, you become less conscious. You have less of a power to create something. Next, we talked about this graph of instant gratification versus delayed gratification, and how activities that give you a delayed gratification, like reading a book, will give you the skills to get more gratification afterwards, as opposed to watching a TV show that makes you feel a high right now. Obviously, this isn't applicable to everything, but the more you get yourself into a state of delayed gratification and not needing the instant high, you're going to see that the gratification is going to last for a longer term. You'll be satisfied with less. Life is going to get more peaceful. Joy and peace and happiness are going to be your natural state, as opposed to anxiously craving the next activity to keep you busy. The insanity right now is, for most business people, they're just looking for the next activity to help them keep their business alive, as opposed to focusing the one thing that will give them that longer term, sustainable compounding result. Okay? And the reason why that is because we've been wired for instant gratification. That's all our mind keeps focusing on. Okay? And the 3 biggest killers that lead you down this dark hole is, number 1, your notifications and social media. Cut all of that out. As little as you can do it. If your business runs on it, at least set yourself a certain period, a time of the day when you consciously choose to do this activity, as opposed to becoming reactive and checking your phone every minute. Right? That'll put you into a vicious momentum, which will be difficult to break free of. Number 2, stimulants. If you need coffee to function throughout your day, you're becoming a slave to coffee. Right? Consciousness is it's not being able to, real freedom isn't doing what you like to do and avoiding what you dislike. I don't like to do this, so I'm not going to do it. That's not freedom. That's you becoming a slave to your likes and dislikes. True freedom is just being able to do anything, regardless of how you feel within. When you have complete control over the character, and no feeling, no thought ever stops you from your mission. When you start to delay your gratification, you eliminate stimulants and things that make you become more dependent on something external that's not organically inside of you. Then you become more and more conscious. Okay? Number 3, pornography. That gives you the biggest spike in dopamine. This is something I struggled with in my teen years. Eliminating this was probably the best thing I could have done for my whole life. I don't think I would have been able to be successful in business if I didn't do these 3 things. Right? And understand the concept of proactivity versus reactivity. Anything you become dependent on makes you reactive, makes you more needy. Anything that you truly consciously choose to do without needing it. And this is the key difference. I'm doing this because I choose to do it, not because I need to do it. Okay? That's what you got to understand if you want to come from a proactive frame of mind rather than a reactive one. And the 3 keys that we talked about was, number 1, increase the activation energy needed for you to relapse. If you have things in your environment that'll lead you to distraction, the activation energy to relapse is very low. It takes you little energy to just go ahead and check that Instagram post. When you go through your Instagram feed and you see a picture of a nude girl, then you're going to go into porn, right? It's going to trigger you through going through all of these loops. You're like, oh, let me just go a little bit. Let me just go a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Oh, just one step. It doesn't matter. Eliminate that first process where you'd even get into that cycle, right? Number 2, always look for sustainable solutions and not a short-term dopamine fast. That can be great for you. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, look for ways to turn your life into a dopamine fast. Okay? Number 3, focus on elimination and not addition. Anything that you add in your life is just going to add more complexity and it's going to take more energy out of you. Okay? Everything around you, make sure that it is necessary for you to function. Be honest with yourself. Do you really need this? The more you can eliminate, turn this into a fun game. Like, what can I get rid of in my life? Right? And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. And I'm super excited to announce that the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery program is now open. Make sure you click on the link in the description below to sign up, and let's see how we can take you to that next level. Now, who this consult is for is essentially for the following. Number 1, if you're an entrepreneur, you're stuck at a certain revenue level in your life, you're wanting to scale up, you've tried all the strategies, tools, and tactics, looking for the next gratification, the next funnel to do, and none of that's worked, and you're seeing that it's not a tactical, strategic problem, but an internal ceiling keeping you stuck here, then this is for you. People who are professionals looking to transition out or even take their careers to the next level, they don't have a skill set problem. You have all the skills. You're seeing other people less qualified than you getting better jobs or starting up businesses. And for some reason, you don't understand why you can't do it. And you found out that it's an internal ceiling keeping you stuck here, then this is for you as well. If that sounds like you, make sure you take advantage of this opportunity, sign up for the consult, and let's see how we can help. And also, I'm super excited to announce the free Facebook group is open for you to take advantage of. The link for that is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Peace.